The Raid, a synthetic drug bust, throws light on a hidden world. The warehouse stood silent. It was an ordinary building, lost in a maze of industrial units. Inside, however, a different story unfolded. Agents moved with precision, adrenaline pumping. They had been tracking this operation for months. The raid was swift, the evidence overwhelming. Pills, powders, and precursors littered the tables. This was not a scene from a crime thriller. This was the new face of the drug trade. Synthetic drugs, cooked up in clandestine labs, were flooding the streets. The Darknet provided anonymity, making detection harder than ever. The raid was a victory, but a small one in a much larger war. The agents moved through the lab, their eyes scanning every surface. Evidence bags were filled with colorful pills, each one a potential death sentence. The chemicals used to create these drugs were often more dangerous than the finished product. The people making them were often untrained, operating on guesswork and online recipes. This was a far cry from the days of plant-based narcotics. This was a new breed of drug dealer, tech-savvy and ruthless. The raid had exposed a small part of a vast and complex network. It was a sobering reminder of the challenges faced by law enforcement in the 21st century. The bust made headlines, a fleeting glimpse into a hidden world. But the problem ran deeper than a single raid could solve. The demand for synthetic drugs was on the rise, fueled by their potency, affordability, and accessibility. The internet had become a digital marketplace, connecting buyers and sellers with ease. Traditional law enforcement methods were struggling to keep pace. The war on drugs had entered a new and dangerous phase. The raid was a stark reminder of the stakes involved. Lives were being lost, communities torn apart. The fight was far from over. This bust was not just about seizing drugs, it was about sending a message. It was a message to those who profited from this illicit trade. It was a message to those who believed they could operate with impunity in the shadows of the internet. But it was also a message to society as a whole. It was a wake-up call, a reminder of the dangers lurking beneath the surface. The synthetic drug trade was a global problem, one that required a global response. The raid was a small step, but a necessary one in the fight for a safer and healthier future. As the synthetic surge. A new age of drug use brings unprecedented challenges. Synthetic drugs represent a paradigm shift in the global drug landscape. Unlike plant-based drugs like heroin or cocaine, these substances are brewed in labs, often mimicking the effects of their natural counterparts. This chemical alchemy has spawned a vast and ever-evolving array of substances, making it difficult for authorities to keep up. The ease of production and distribution has fueled a surge in availability, pushing the crisis to new heights. The old rules no longer apply, demanding a fresh look at how we approach this complex issue. The appeal of synthetic drugs lies in their accessibility, affordability, and perceived novelty. Online marketplaces on the Darknet provide a cloak of anonymity, attracting a new generation of tech-savvy users. The lack of quality control in clandestine labs makes these substances highly unpredictable. Users often have no idea what they are ingesting, leading to an increased risk of overdoses and adverse reactions. The constantly evolving chemical formulas make it challenging to develop effective treatment protocols or harm reduction strategies. The surge in synthetic drug use has placed immense strain on law enforcement agencies worldwide. The decentralized nature of online drug markets makes it difficult to identify and apprehend key players. Traditional investigative techniques are often inadequate in the face of sophisticated encryption and anonymity tools. The global reach of the internet further complicates matters, requiring unprecedented levels of international cooperation. The cat-and-mouse game between authorities and online vendors continues, with no clear winner in sight. The rise of synthetic drugs has also exposed the limitations of current drug policies. Harsh penalties for possession and use have done little to curb demand and may even exacerbate the problem. Driving the trade underground makes it harder to monitor and regulate, pushing users towards riskier behavior. The focus on criminalization often overshadows the need for public health interventions such as harm reduction programs and addiction treatment. The synthetic drug crisis demands a nuanced and multifaceted approach that goes beyond the traditional war on drugs narrative. Digital drug dens. The Darknet becomes a breeding ground for synthetic substances. The Darknet, a hidden underbelly of the internet, has become the wild west of the drug trade. Accessible only through specialized software, it offers anonymity to both buyers and sellers. This digital frontier has become a breeding ground for synthetic drug markets, attracting a new breed of tech-savvy dealers and users. Traditional borders dissolve in this online realm, making it a truly global marketplace for illicit substances. The Darknet presents unique challenges to law enforcement, requiring innovative strategies to penetrate its layers of encryption and anonymity. Imagine a bustling marketplace, but instead of stalls selling spices and textiles, you find listings for drugs with names like spice, bath salts, and N-bomb. This is the reality of Darknet drug markets, where anonymity reigns supreme. Transactions are conducted using cryptocurrencies, adding another layer of obscurity to the trade. Vendors operate under aliases, often using encrypted messaging apps to communicate with buyers. This digital underworld thrives on secrecy, making it difficult to track down those responsible for manufacturing and distributing these dangerous substances. The Darknet is not just a platform for buying and selling drugs, it has also become a hub for sharing information about synthetic substances. Users exchange reviews and experiences, often unaware of the dangers they face. The lack of quality control in clandestine labs means that potency and ingredients can vary wildly from batch to batch. This information exchange, while seemingly harmless, can have deadly consequences. The Darknet has democratized access to information about synthetic drugs, but it has also made it easier for misinformation and dangerous trends to spread like wildfire. Law enforcement agencies face an uphill battle in tackling the Darknet drug trade. The constantly evolving nature of the online marketplace requires constant adaptation and innovation. Traditional investigative techniques such as undercover operations and controlled buys are often ineffective in this digital realm. The global reach of the Darknet further complicates matters, demanding unprecedented levels of international cooperation between law enforcement agencies. The fight against synthetic drugs on the Darknet is a high-stakes game of cat and mouse with no easy solutions in sight.